Hi. Could everyone take their seats? Welcome to the bleachers of the Mill Valley Public Library. Yeah. I'm Emcee Brenner, the city librarian. Thank you. Thank you to the Mill Valley Library Foundation and friends for making tonight's game possible. Now, in Plato's Republic, Socrates decries poetry as deceiving, tawdry, and emotionally manipulative. Poets, he says, indulge the irrational nature which has no discernment of greater and less. He is concerned that they engender laxity of morals among the young. And he asserts that all poetical imitations are ruinous to the understanding of the hearers. Socrates therefore concludes that poets must be banned from the well-ordered state. Now, what he does not say is that the public library can't take them in. And so once again, tonight, we do just that. Even though to look at our two teams of poets is to witness the dire threat that such people would pose to any civilized society. Will Durst has referred to the baseball season as an 8-month-long soap opera in cleats. This is exactly the kind of deep and intellectual insight that we require of an MC for this event. Thank you to Becky Faust, who has recently been named Dartmouth Poet in Residence, for creating this program and bringing it to this library, and to all the players in tonight's event. Good luck to both teams, and let the game begin.
Emcee Brenner. Good evening, my name is Will, and I'm an no, wrong meeting. Welcome to the 5th Annual World Series of Poetry. And of course, look at, and this is exactly because baseball and poetry go together like Truman Capote and mule skinning. I don't know. All you guys out here for, and that is so Mill Valley, because we love, it's not even a town. It's more of a shire. It is. It's a plot of Middle Earth, perched precariously on the precipice of precious and fanciful, where whimsy has a timeshare and a yellow lab with a bandana around its neck. And we cast all the bad hippies away to toil in the granola mines and the hollowed out portions of Mount Tamalpais. But we are so glad to see you here. You're in for a great evening. I was privileged enough to be the host of last year's World Series of Poetry, and it was an exciting, exciting time. Came down to the very end. And I know you're going to have a great time this year. How about a hand, first off, for Angie Brenner, Kristen Clark, the entire Mill Valley Library team. Even though she's wearing an A's jersey. And for sponsoring this event. And how about a hand for our wonderful judges and players for donating their time and coming out here in the shadow of the redwoods. Oh my living God. A little different than the makeout room last year in the Mission, yeah. Which was a cavern. It was like performing in a cave. Stalactites, stalagmites. It was, yeah, this is a little too beautiful. So if you just want to relax, and it'll be fun. Yes, that was last year, not this year. We're on a schedule here, so we're going to make our introductions brief. Let me first introduce. You got bios and stuff on your chair, but I would like to introduce our judges first. The poet Dean Rader, please stand. Dean won the 2010 T.S. Eliot Poetry Prize for Works and Days, and his most recent book, Landscape Portrait Figure Form from Omnidawn, was named by Barnes & Noble Review as one of the best poetry books of 2013. Nice job. And sitting to his left is the lovely and incredible poet, Melissa Stein. How about a hand? She's the author of the poetry collection Rough Honey. She's a winner of the APR Honickman First Book Prize, a freelance editor, writer in San Francisco, and her optimum writing medium is squid ink. I have no idea what that means. And finally, on Dean's right, we have Brian Murphy. You probably know Brian as co-host of the morning radio show on KNBR, Murph and Me. They've been doing it for what, 7 years now? Almost 10. Geez, time flies. And it's a must listen to any sports fan in the Bay Area. He's also the golf columnist for Yahoo Sports from 2001 to 2004. He was the national golf writer at the San Francisco Chronicle. One more hand for our entire panel of judges. And now we're going to go to the players. We'll start out with what? The blue team? Red team. Red team. Let's go with the red team. First off, Rebecca Faust. Becky Faust. Becky is the 2014 Dartmouth Poet in Residence at the Frost Place. Her books include God's Seed and All That Gorgeous Pitiless Song. New poems are in Hudson Review, Massachusetts Review, Swanee Review, and Ziziva. Do I have that right? Yeah? A hand for Becky Faust, who is also the creator of this darn thing. Next up, Amy Glenn. Amy, stand up, please.
You want to stay standing?
Sit down, Amy. Amy's book, A Modern Herbal, was released by Measure Press in 2013. She's been the James Merrill House Fellow and won the 2014 Spur Award from the Western Writers Association and lives in the East Bay. No? Yes? Yes? And finally, but not least, of course, we have Troy Jollimore. He's the author of At Lake Scugog and Tom Thompson in Purgatory. His awards include the National Book Critics Circle Award and fellowships from the Bread Loaf Writers Conference and the Guggenheim Foundation. Troy Jollimore. Now, let's turn to the blue team, one of whom is, thank God, moved her Dodgers had to turn around. Okay, first off, Heather Atfeld. Thank you for that kind consideration, Heather. Heather's recent poetry publications include Narrative Magazine, Pleiades, Poetry Northwest, Ziziva, a Sauzier Review, Greensboro Review, Jewish Currents, Laurel Review, and The New Guard. She has completed her first book and is working on the second. Heather Altfeld. And now Judy Halipsky. Judy's book of poems, Sky Empty, won the New Issues Prize and was a finalist for the California Book Award. The MacDowell Colony, the Malay Colony, and the Japanese Ministry of Culture have supported her work. She lives in Oakland and teaches at Dominican University. And last but not least, Robert Thomas. Robert's new book of fiction, Bridge, will be published by BOA Editions in October 2014. He has published 2 books of poetry, Door to Door, selected by Yusuf Komunikaya for the Poets Out Loud Prize, and Dragging the Lake. Robert Thomas. And of course, we have our timekeeper and scorekeeper, Roy Walsh. Is Roy here? Marsh. I'll start over. And of course, our timekeeper, Roy Mash. Yeah, don't mess with Roy. He's a long-time board member of the Marin Poetry Center, currently a regular in the movie of his life. His character's primary occupation is to doodle his days away while staring out of cafe windows. His book, Buyer's Remorse, came out in 2014. And Roy will also be pinch hitting. Yes, so if one of our players strikes out or has a brain freeze or just ate a Slurpee or something and can't continue, Roy's going to take over. Now, for a brief explanation how this works. You see this in front of you. This is how we're going to score. Right here we got the red and the blue. Have 3 rounds, 3 sets of batters each, plus a tiebreaker. The 2 batters at a time will step up to the plate, the mics, to receive a topic that I will draw out of this hat right here. And the topic, each one will do a poem based on the subject of one of the pieces of paper that you guys provided earlier. I'm gonna draw this hat, toss it up. The poets will be given a moment to ponder the topic, and then each poet will have 3 minutes to come up with and read a poem that relates. 3 sets of batters will go per round. At the end of each round, the judges will announce which batter in each pairing won that round. Roy will keep score here on our scoreboard. Roy will tell me. I'll mark it. Yeah, we'll work on this. Are you guys ready? Rebecca, can you tell us to play ball? Oh, we have to do the national anthem. All right. Wow. Do we have the national anthem? Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the singing of our national anthem. And I want these rafters to shake. Oh, you got a slow one, huh?
At the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
The longest rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner ever. Ever. And now, Rebecca, can you tell us to play ball?
Play ball.
Yeah! All right, the first matchup that we have will be between, and I have it right here, Heather from the blue team versus Amy from the red team. And I'm going to pick a topic, and you guys are going to do a poem.
Better be good.
It better be good. I can't. This one doesn't have anything on it. Yeah. Nothing. Give me a poem on nothing.
That's actually what. Okay.
Secretly, we all know that all poems are about that. Because,
Heather will go first.
I'm already at a disadvantage because I've not only never played baseball, but I've never played any sport competitively except jacks. So, and I was raised by a communist who never let us sing the Star-Spangled Banner. So, so I didn't know the whole first verse. Anyway, I think I could get deported for this. All right, this is a poem about the nothingness that exists in certain parts underneath our country, our great star-spangled country, full of communists. It's about the sinkholes in Florida. Sinkhole. First, the man's aftershave. Then his remote control, the half-finished coffee curdling in the Pyrex mug, the whole bureau everything was perched on, with the photograph of the girlfriend he missed for 10 years, wrapped in tinfoil and stuck with gum to its underside. And then the hat at the tip-top of his coat rack, its feathers sailing in the air to land on a bit of tile that would still be left in this world. The Charmin roll from the bathroom, bobbling happily into neverness. The tube socks, one at a time, to be joined together in the watery hereafter. And finally, the man himself, charmed for a millisecond to be chosen like this, then quickened and rigid with Vesuvian terror, inhaled and deposited in the terrible quarry beneath us. Let's face it, the earth has propped all of us too long and too miserably on her table, teetering under our weight. The familiar mother, 5:30 on a weeknight, trapped 3 carts in on the worst grocery line in America, her arms finally giving way to spill the crying child beneath her legs, his rejected hair streaming out against our shoes, while her half-gallon of milk streams down the sticky black runway, and they have to call for an extra checker on 5. It can no longer simply eject us, this bright place, with its limestone shagging and its shale hungry and our boats so delicious. It can no longer just strike itself against itself in the great earthquakes of yesteryear, laundering our cobbles and our shingles, rubbling our libraries into one papery heap. leaving one small hand visible reaching from the ruins to remind us what gravity really looks like. Now she is forced to swallow us whole. This is how it feels so often to love and be loved these days, volleying about in the arms of the trying, before we are sucked forever in the bucket of the heart, chopped and wringing and peppered with sadness. Now we'll have to strap tanks to our backs to tunnel and learn the caves beneath us, the dimensions of her cavities, the precise location of these new graves. Who knows what forgotten automat we might find still spinning in its hollows, its sandwiches blinking at the ugly sturgeons. Who knows what kind of music we might learn down there, or how we will know how to hear it as it laps its thick sound against our masks.
Heather Altfeld. And great job, Roy. Yeah.
It was very subtle.
I especially like a hem after one's gone over. But this one won't go over. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Amy Glynn.
I often go over. Okay. I'm going psychological here. This is a poem about narcissism, which is the pathology of the nothing inside you, the empty self. So this is called Narcissus. You scarcely seem a creature prepossessing enough to spark the wrath of Nemesis, avenger of spurned lovers, in your careless appearance on the kitchen table, pressing forth from that unlovely, tight-wrapped, cryptic onion of a bulb for no more cause than being placed in water. Your face draws upon an artificial pond a diptych illustration of spring's endless self-resurrecting vigor, a rebirth you're programmed to perform despite no earth to root in. But, self-referential sylph, the myth you're forced spring after spring to write is one of our deepest and most deeply misunderstood, that of shallowness. And this, heartbreaker, is the root of it. Despite all that we know, we never reconcile knowing with wanting, wanting with need, need with love. You were exquisite, prideful, cold, above everyone, wrapped up in yourself. Your smile inflamed them all. You knew it, left them pining and shrugged. Not nice. And one day, Nemesis was called on so you'd know your callousness as its victim. And the god heard, and, designing creatures that the gods were then, ensured longing would bring you to those perfect knees of yours. And had you not seen eyes like these before? Oh, he lured you in without a word, the gorgeous thing. It was as if he saw straight to your soul, but kept mum. Maddening. Well, down you stole to kiss the lips uplifted in the spring and sank into your own gaze and were drowned. Divine revenge for the abuse of power? They never found your body. A pale flower self-doubling in the water stood its ground as a cautionary emblem. Let the vain and self-obsessed know this is how it ends for them, a life that ultimately spends itself for nothing. But let's make this plain. The narcissistic tragedy is never too much love of self. It's not enough self to love. Self-image as a clever forgery, compounded of the stuff, praise, blame, desire, we absorb. What mattered was not Narcissus falling for his own image, but failing to discern a known entity in the vision that had scattered to breeze-blown ripples. You, though, on the table, might we have got you wrong? See, that's the trouble with symbols. Every meaning has its double, and one man's parable of the unstable self might be someone else's loveliest exemplar of completion. In the mirror, we meet as equals. Sometimes things are clearer upon reflection, and perhaps the best conception of a metamorphosis is one that doesn't see it as a curse, but as a realization. There are worse fates. In the transit from sweet, generous to archetype, there's much to misconstrue. Projection? Sure. Self-sapience is fraught with complications if it's to be sought outside ourselves, which few know well as you.
The speedy Amy Glynn. Come barreling around third. That was the end of the first inning, ladies and gentlemen. And now, what? No? Okay, now, the second inning. Please welcome to the stage from the red team, Rebecca Faust. That's her walk-up music. And from the blue team, Robert Thomas. Okay, and their topic for the second inning will be dreams. Warm up, you two. Take a couple practice swings. Becky will lead off.
I happen to have a poem called The Dream of the Rude.
Get out of here. Hey, that's cheating.
But before I start, I want to remind one of the judges that I have ownage on him. Ownage. Okay, so this is called The Dream of the Rude. Does anybody know what the rude is? So the rude is the true cross. And I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania and went to college on a scholarship. And the very first piece of English literature I encountered was a medieval poem by an anonymous author called The Dream of the Rude. So the epigraph to this poem is a quote from that piece. I saw a tree more wonderful than any other, reach high aloft, bathed in light. And I want to thank you for that pitch. Dream of the Rude. You should follow your dream, whispered the rude young yoga instructor. Earnest and bent on proving that pain could, at its heart, be good, and that I ached for more than this hardwood floor against my spine's misalignment. I'd signed up to follow it, my dream, but now I rued the day I moved to this crazy state. It gets more serious. Loaded with cord stack, the family tree felled by blood, smoke, and gin. Mom and Dad died years before they each died. Light was divided from light in every small window, so I went west. Burnt was the dream shape of home, root, shaft, and crossbeam. In my first year of dead and no weather, I wanted winter. I pined for trees with no leaves and for any word spoken in tongues. Stand, she said, on your head, and it began to rain. Outside, upside down, a tree bled. I dreamt blurred redbud, the rude, pain-pierced light, a dead tree in luminous bloom. Thank you.
Leading up the second inning, Becky Faust. And now batting cleanup, ladies and gentlemen, Robert Thomas.
Get up here and heckle me. Okay, I have a good one too. This is called Quarter Past Dreams. It's just the sort of paper-thin night to make me steal the clapper from the mission bell and leave it on your doorstep like a stuttered prayer. In your room, I see a writing light, soft and dirty as an oyster. I know you can hear me out here in the static, scraping on your pane like a raccoon. I've been to the pond. It's not as if the swans are your personal secret. Come out and walk with me across the Sonoma Town Square on the edge of the green. I'm wearing my papier-mâché wings, and they're not dry. The moon's been released on its own recognizance. This is serious traffic. This is gridlock, intergalactical. This is Friday night lust and spleen. This is the it they mean when they say this is it. You are so caught up in your own dreams. You are so not what you think you are. It's late, 1/2 revelation, 1/4 dreams, and you're still counting the chits, waiting for something better than love, as cold and magical as dry ice, to come along and sideswipe you, hit and run, without leaving a scratch.
Robert Thomas. And that was the end of the second inning, the third inning, ladies and gentlemen. We are bringing up to the stage, first, Troy Jollimore from the red team. Wow, that was so love-boating. And now from the blue team, Judy Hilupski. Yeah, we got funk and a little bit of classicism. So, and the subject for the third inning will be hagiography? No.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hagiography? How about spontaneous combustion? You like hagiography?
All right. Actually, I could have done hagiography, as it turns out. I know. But I can do this too, because that's why I'm a switch hitter. That's right. You got it. I've been working on my swing, so this is a poem called Tom Thompson in Flames. It's a slow burning fire, creeping up the highway of his spine, which it will jump as soon as it's built up the proper heat to colonize his other side. He's been on fire since he was born. The doctor slapped him to try to put it out, but it just spat and pitched and flared. The doctor said he'll burn, but slow. The preacher said, we burn each day we are not right with God. Not sticks and stones, but twigs and coals make up his frame of bones. Sits in a pool of light, enough to read by, barely, cast by the tiny torches that fizzle at the stubs of his wick fingers, his straw-dry stuffed scarecrow toes. This kindly kindling man.
Judy Hilupski.
Thank you. Troy, nice poem. Troy and I are both from Nova Scotia. We knew each other there and spent a lot of time drinking beer in the woods. And in this poem I'm going to read, Troy was actually kind of in a rough spot in his life, and he was living on the streets. The spontaneous combustion's coming soon.
I was living in a lobster trap at that point, I think.
I think so, yeah. This is a poem called, important. I'm translating kanji characters. The first half of the poem, they're separate readings, and the second half of the poem, they're possible phrases you can read when you read them together. How to find a man up to the task. This body is measured in sugar, in days of butter, in soft flour, in honey, in ground sesame. Ki, a container. Ryo, a measure. Fu, to erase, to take back, to make into nothing. Count me aged and aging. Count me calcium and marrow and churned butter. Pound me into the bed springs, into cotton and late night radio, into dulse and kelp and dry leaves. On Barrington Street, handsome, dirt in his nails and clear, strong eyes. Troy's holding a cardboard sign. It reads, broke, hungry, will work for food, beer, or money. Kiro make, a container, a measure, to make into nothing, also means too smart for success or too beautiful for your own good. He sees me watching him and flips over the sign. Quality sperm available. Bargain price. Everything included.
Those saucy Nova Scotians, Judy Olepsky and Troy Gallimore. And now we have come to the end of the third inning, which means that it's time for our judges to weigh in. Judges, we're going to ask you, we're going to go alphabetically. Brian, we're going to start with you. In the first inning, between Heather for the blue team and Amy for the red team, who do you think won and why?
Okay, we're going to be quick, impactful, and totally irrelevant is what we're going to be. First and foremost, it's my job as a sportscaster to report the Giants fell behind 1-0 in the first, but rallied to tie 1-1, second inning. All right, there we go. And for all you A's fans out there, they won 11-1, but this is Giants territory.
It was Cleveland.
So there you go. Anyway, okay, so that I felt, and also it's nice to see, in the spirit of the baseball town we live in, a sellout, standing room only crowd here today, huh, you guys? Like Larry Bear would count this in his sellout streak, Will. I think so. Right? That's inside baseball, right? There you go. Okay, number one, Heather, Amy, you guys are all awesome. Everything's fantastic. I gotta say, Heather's poem appealed to me on a number of levels because I am that guy with the coffee and the tube socks. I am that man, okay? So you're really making me feel self-conscious, sucking me down into earth and nothingness. I will say, though, the fact that you were raised by a communist means nothing compared to the fact that you wore a Dodger hat here. I would think that even the most strident capitalist would take a communist over a Dodger fan, all right? So I looked to Amy's poem for something to like because that Dodger hat was looming, and I said, you know what? She said spring after spring at one point. And what is this? It's baseball. Spring after spring, Amy wins.
That's 1 point to Amy.
Well, let me just say, as someone who grew up in a farm town in Oklahoma, that baseball season begins as soon as the Thunder's season is over. So everyone go for the Thunder. It's still going, that's right. So we'll talk about baseball after the Thunder dethrone the Heat.
Please,
wow.
please, somebody dethrone the Heat.
This was a tough round. Amy had the best line with life that spends itself for nothing. Good use of nothing, great line. But this is baseball, World Series, and Heather's poem included the word aftershave, and the word gum, and the phrase sailing in air, which made me think of baseball. So even though it's really close, Heather wins this round.
Dean Rader says Heather wins. We're tied 1-1. It's up to you, Melissa Stein.
This is tough. So I really related to Amy's poem, knowing a lot of narcissists in my time, and maybe being one, but let's get into that later. Some amazing lines. Those perfect knees of yours was fantastic. Not enough self to love. And got in just under the wire of the buzzer, which I thought was pretty amazing. Heather's poem, the cycles of nothingness, the Charmin and tube socks, the earth teetering like a table, the rejected hair, milk, streaming down a runway. There were so many images, the one hand reaching out of the nothingness. And then, pulled in the final nothingness going past the buzzer, and then it all ended and she was still going. It's amazing. So I got to give it to Heather for that one. Yes.
Who?
Heather.
Heather.
Yes.
Ah!
It's one vote for Amy, 2 votes for Heather. So 2 blue, 1 red.
Right.
Two blue, 1 red.
Get it? All right, let's move on. To the second inning. And the second inning was between, don't tell me I have it right here, Rebecca and Robert. Brian, who do you think won the second inning?
Well, this second inning was really good because they introduced walk-up music in the second inning. That got really good. And we'll start with Robert because he went Rolling Stones. Given the demographic here tonight, I think that appealed to the post-baby or the pre-baby boomer generation I'm seeing here. Kenny, come on. It's a lighthearted affair, people. You're getting free booze. Easy.
You Gen Xers.
Easy. Quarter past dreams was beautiful. Stuttered prayer. I love that phrase. I like oysters too, Robert. I hate Friday Night Traffic though. So I looked at Becky's poem and Nirvana, feeling good, feeling grungy. The fact that she dropped ownage. I'm going to forgive the fact that she wore a 49ers hat to a baseball event. But my beautiful bride is here tonight. She's from Alaska, and she pines for winter in leaves without trees. So you struck a chord, and there you go. Becky, beautiful poem, close race, both great. Becky wins.
Dean Rader.
The judges were apoplectic over here. We couldn't decide who had won this round. It was close. I'm not even sure I know who, so I'm just going to start talking. Thomas, wow. Robert.
It's Robert Thomas. You were right both ways.
Thomas wins. Steal a clapper? Come on. Shuttered prayer? Gorgeous. The best line so far of the night? Soft and dirty. Yeah. And come on, as an oyster, yeah, that makes it doubly so. And then half past revelation, dude. And then you have Becky's Dream of the Rude, which is a great poem. And rude, as some of you may or may not know, can also be used, the word is a Middle English word for pole. So it's a big piece of wood, which of course is like a bat, a baseball bat. And the true cross is what players do when they come to home plate, right? They do the cross. And runners cross home plate. So Jesus tells me I have to vote for Becky.
Okay. So Friday Night Lust and Spleen, I thought was an amazing line of Robert's. There's raccoons in this, and I have a thing for raccoons. The young ones, the old ones are, bastards. But beautiful poem. I love the randomness of the poem and how everything fit together so well. Becky's poem, Young Yoga Instructors, we all drifted off a little, thinking about that, right? The line, blood, smoke, and gin, absolutely gorgeous. Blurred Red Bud, amazing. And I think Becky choked up a little bit while she was reading her own poem, which is, maybe I imagined it, but I kind of felt that, so I'm gonna go for Becky.
Wow, clean sweep. Second inning goes to red.
Bruce Bochy sits in the dugout when he does these things. Yeah, he's not standing, right? Actually, he does stand, but Ron Wouters sits. Yeah. Okay.
My butt's on the line.
Will inning 3, right?
Inning 3 between, and you know who it was. It was between the last two who are here. It was between Troy and Judy. Troy for the red team and Judy for the blue.
The Nova Scotia Mafia is in the house.
Right.
I love it. Yeah, man. You don't a phrase you don't say very often, guys. Right? Yeah. This was great. You guys were both excellent. I was really into Judy's De La Soul, Me, Myself, and I. If only you had narcissism, right, Judy, for that one, huh? Loved How to Find a Man Up to, obviously, the big reveal at the end, the sperm. What are you going to say? I mean, come on. Brought down the house. You did mention late night radio, and as a radio man, I was really excited about that. However, Troy, first of all, what was that tune? Was that like a little style council or something? What was that? Oh, Flaming Lips. Very good. Very, very good. Okay, it sounded cool, and it kept your Tom Thompson in flames. Now, again, I referenced my wife being here. We have a 2.5-year-old who has been on fire since he was born. So on that, you win, Troy. There you go.
I love that Troy walked up to the Flaming Lips, one of the great Oklahoma bands. Yeah, a lot of Oklahoma. I loved some of the lines of Troy's. By the way, if you don't know Troy's Tom Thompson poems from his first book, they're just fantastic. Pitched and flared, we burn each day, we are not right with God. Wow, if only that were false. Judy, pound me into bed springs. Bargain sperm. Wow, that brings a new meaning to the notion of spitball. And so for that alone, the vote goes to Judy.
How can I follow that up?
The score is 1-1 in the third inning.
Okay, so yeah, Troy, obviously the poem was all about combustion, which was right on topic. And but it was more like perpetual combustion. I mean, I hate to be too literal here, but it was burning the whole time. How is that spontaneous? Yeah, and but I do like how Troy tucked in his penny. I like how you tucked in the penny, which I think is like fashion points for that. Judy used the word honey in her poem, a word that I am particularly attached to. Very deeply sexy poem, and also the tactic of semi-shaming another player, yeah, I think was pretty good. I have not seen that in any of the Poetry World series thus far. So I will say Judy wins this round in my book for the shame.
So that's 2 Judys and 1 Troy. So blue gets the inning. Okay, now introducing the 4th inning, we have the boys playing against each other. I'll mark it. I'm timing this all out. Let's bring the boys up here. Troy for the red team. And Robert for the blue team. And the topic for the 4th inning shall be, picking this right out of here, twirling batons.
Okay, I can do it.
Up or down? Twirling batons.
Oh boy. All right. Really?
All right, let me see who's going first. In the 4th inning, Robert goes first.
Okay, I'd almost forgotten I have this poem. It's called Twirling Batons. I don't know, it's just a coincidence. Twirling batons. I could write a poem that no one could tell was for you or for anyone. It would just be about the twirling batons. The old glass doorknobs in my apartment. And Mission Carmel, the rickety stairs dense with pigeons all the way up the sealed bell tower. The brown fountains, dry but overrun with geraniums, and the cemetery with its smell of wild onions. Twirling batons in adobe shade for 2 centuries, and stray white cats. It would just be about a silver candle snuffer and a windmill turning in the rain.
All right. Very nice. So, okay, this is a poem called Some Men and... Oh, wait, I think, hold on, one of the judges dropped something. All right. Okay, so this is called Some Men. A man wakes up in a monastery on a mountaintop in Tibet, having given all his possessions away, and cries out, "Damn it, I'm still me." A man walks into a martini bar carrying a chainsaw, and we all wait to see what will happen. A priest, a rabbi, and a Zen Buddhist live in different neighborhoods and never meet. A man says, "Take my wife, please," to the emergency room. She is bleeding badly. Several men are running as fast as they can through the open door of a martini bar. Something is happening inside. A man wakes up in America, filled with joy to live in this land of opportunity, where anyone, regardless of race or class, can grow up to shoot the president. A man lies on his bed, wondering what has become of his life, and twirling a baton. A man puts a cat in a box, connects the box to a tube that contains a toxic substance, connects the tube's lid to a mechanical arm that is, in turn, hooked up to a computer that monitors an isotope that may or may not decay in the next 12 seconds. The cat's name is Simon. The whole time, the man is thinking to himself that for at least 10 years, he has felt not dead exactly, but at the same time, not entirely alive. Thanks.
Troy Jolimore and Robert Thomas in the 4th inning of Twirling Batons. Wow, that was pretty good. Okay, how serendipitous you both had poems that had twirling batons in them. The 5th inning is coming up right now. From the red team, please welcome to our podium, Ms. Amy Glenn. And for the blue team, Judy Halepsky. And your poetry topic for the 5th inning is allergies.
Who goes
Okay
first?
with that?
Who goes first?
Yeah. I think Judy goes first.
All right.
Yes, Judy goes first.
Hi. It's quite fortuitous that I should have this topic of allergies. I have been a sneezer my entire life. I might have to do this from memory. No. Yubei evening.
I'll take it. All right, hang on. Okay, so I didn't want to go back into the botany thing because it might not relate to Oklahoma, and I'm afraid of that now. But since it is, I'm just going to read a quick poem about a common chaparral plant that causes a lot of people a lot of pain. This is called chemise. There is no wind. The chaparral has gone to decadence, and the sun, at such a height, leaves the sky desiccated, bleached ash white, a concentrated brightness, an indrawn gathering of the light, as if the whole world were enclosed within a camera obscura, an inverted replica universe cynosured through a pinhole. Even the soil is aching from the heat. A cracking bed of serpentine where few species contrive to grow, and those that do sustain themselves on nothing but complete famine and drought. More than sustain, they flout the whole system, responding to the mean conditions with a kind of libertine and excess, oiling themselves elaborately without a care for consequence, inviting fire. Oh, this would have worked for spontaneous combustion too. Anointing their dry leaves with aromatic resins just to inspire a dramatic response. Spontaneous combustion. Dire repercussions, but they've thought of that too, developing at once two kinds of seed. One sprouts in wet soil, one is only freed if the achene is scorched. This habitat requires certain adaptations. And, rather than being meager in return for meagerness, why not agree to burn? Say there is nothing you cannot withstand.
Allergies make me miserable, and I have gone to 100,000 doctors, and here's a story about one who is a genius. It's called Radical 36, which is a kanji character from Chinese that means evening. Yu Bei, evening. Dr. Yu looks at me over the top of her glasses and concentrates. Any port, any promise, any break in the canopy of leaves. Maya worries about Chinese medicine not being Western medicine. I give her the words the doctors give me. I pass them to her untouched. Evening plus evening means many. Takan, many heart roots equals regret. Silence fell on our house like a lid. Not each in our own mouse corner, but me marked off as the one falling, the one who will be lost to the night. Streamline these words into veins, this balance of water and air. There are no wings, no 1,000 black and yellow butterflies, no microscopes, no X-ray vision. She makes me drink the forest floor. Dr. Yu looks at my tongue, takes my pulse in both wrists, writes characters in a running script. Too much wind, too much heat. Nagori, naming the dead, a keepsake. A song, a vine, a break in the canopy of leaves. I have patience worse than this, she says.
Judy from the blue team. Amy from the red in the 5th inning, allergies. Now we're coming up to the 6th inning. Please welcome to the podium from the red team, Rebecca Faust. And from the blue team, please welcome her first time with her walk-up music, Heather Altfeld.
Let's keep it going.
Just a small-town boy. And the topic for the 6th inning of the 5th annual World Series of Poetry is libraries.
I'm going to have to call in my pinch hitter for this one.
Pitch hitting for Rebecca Faust, ladies and gentlemen, the scorekeeper, Roy Mac.
So how much did he give you?
Oh, I'll done.
Okay, so I still have a minute, right? Nobody's keeping score, that's right. Well, I just happen to have a 15-minute poem here, and who cares? This does have a mention of a famous volume from a library in it, even though the whole thing's not about libraries. This poem is called Buyer's Remorse. Yeah. Even before the gull-doored DeLorean pulls out of the lot, before the best man launches into his bawdy toast, before the ink is dried on the timeshare in Tahiti, before the French fries that smelled so comforting begin to roil once again in the wire basket of your belly. Somewhere near the back of your skull, a tiny tuning fork is keening. Mistake! 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 But by this time, you've accepted the post in Borneo and are boarding the plane. Your sweat has already baptized the handcrafted, bone-coffin cowboy boots that felt practically custom-made when you rode them up and down the glassy aisles of Louis Vuitton. Here comes the library part. The 6-volume set of Hume's History of England stares reproachfully down from the topmost shelf, its pages uncut, pristine as the Chopin etude on the programmable baby grand, whose carcass is parked in the center of your geodesic home. This is the time for grieving, for getting ready for the funeral. Your life laid out on the bed like some suede suit your wife warned you against. You give it back if you could, but you've made your choice. And hard luck, the outlet takes no returns.
For her too. And one more time for Heather Altfeld.
All right, your time is starting now. Oh.
This not only has well, I had a library in the last poem. I just want to point that out in Sinkhole. But this not only has a library in it, but it's got specific book titles. It's called From the Gable. She's ironing doll clothes again, smoothing hot calico and pressing lace, turning the narrow dress sleeves of her own small daughters. They are all getting ready for the Seder. Tiny matzah arranged around a tea table for 4, candlesticks of beeswax rolled between her thumbs, thimble-sized place cards at each seat. As mushroom soup cooks on the stove, she lays the Lincoln logs in sweets and draws fleece-capped boys sledding down snowy hills. Her library is stocked with Arabian Nights, Little House. Childhood is slipping through her small fingers. Just around the corner, the neighbor's daughter shaves her leg and nicks one of her knees. A classmate is caught kissing under the oleander. The 5th grade girls meet at skate night, trading eyeliner and cigarettes in the bathroom, and she stays home wearing an old Edward Gorey shirt. Books, cats, life is sweet. Bandaging the paw of our cat caught in chicken wire. None of the boxcar children ask her for anything. She puts her favorite doll in a sling on her back, sets out to pick flowers for the table. Can she see the edge of this life? Surely she can see it from this pitched and sloping place.
That was the end of the 6th inning. Libraries, how about a hand for Roy and Heather? Judges, we turn our eye to you.
All right, great job, including a pinch hitter. My God, that's baseball, baby. All right. But we're starting in the 4th, right, Will?
Starting in the 4th inning, yes.
Robert versus Troy. This was twirling batons, right?
Yes.
Well, listen, I mean, Troy, God bless you, but you were up against it. The dude had a poem called Twirling Batons, all right? I liked a lot of what you said. I mean, the ominous imagery, the martini bar and the chainsaw, the priest, rabbi, and Zen thing, by the way, I'm going to borrow that and tell that in banquet formats later, all right? Great joke. Loved it. You brought tremendous amount of thunder to the table. Loved the poem. But like I said, the dude had a poem named Twirling Batons. Come on. So, Robert, my hat is off. I love the Carmel Bell Towers. Makes me think of Hitchcock and Jimmy Stewart, right? And of course, the candle snuffer, very beautiful. But the reason why you win is because you mentioned a windmill, and we're doing baseball, and Tim Flannery windmills the runners home from third base. So the win goes to Robert. Good job.
Yeah, I loved the extemporaneous placement of twirling and batons in this poem. That was good. I'm curious what the title of Robert's poem actually is. I hope it's Twirling Batons, but I feel like it's something like Secret Pleasure. Well, I don't know. So, yeah, this was a great one. The silver candle snuffer was great. I agree. The windmill really got me in Robert's poem. I love the combination of the sort of high diction and clever play. I thought that was just genius. Troy that line, "Damn it, I'm still me." Who hasn't woken up and thought that? Like daily. And I think we all know that line, he lies on his bed twirling a baton, is a veiled metaphor for his future as a magician or flute player. So even though Troy puts the no in Nova Scotia, I think he gets this one.
1-1.
So yeah, Dean stole my line about twirling his baton, so I'll just skip over that and say Simon is a really cute name for a cat. I had a neighbor with a cat named Simon. It was adorable, so that really tugged my heart. And Robert, the windmill thing has been mentioned twice, but it hasn't been mentioned that windmills twirling batons. So yeah, along with the chutzpah of what, the power and strength of just going balls out and doing that, I would give Robert this one.
Wow, blue team wins again. And Brian, what about the fifth inning? Judy versus Amy.
Okay, these were intense. These were very heavy. This is allergies, right? So we all wanted to sneeze and cough and dab at our eyes. We'll start with Amy, and there was a lot of powerful, we're in this heat wave, right? And there was no wind, and it was cracking from the heat, and I was like, yes, I hate it. I don't have air conditioning. It's awful. And I like that line, say there's nothing you cannot withstand. For a baseball team, right? Down to the pennant race? Come on, that's what we're rallying around. But Judy, Radical 36, you threw a number in there that could be a jersey number, right? Baseball number, right? And the way you described it, I felt like it was a player going on the disabled list, drinking from the forest floor, all that stuff. So in honor of all the players who are injured and going to the DL, that was you. Judy gets the win. There you go.
Amy, I don't know why you think that a poem's Oklahomaness would affect my judging. You mentioned chaparral plants, which has the same root as the word chaps, which Oklahomans wear a lot. You also had this great phrase, something like oiling themselves, the national pastime of Oklahoma. Two kinds of seeds you mentioned. I grew up in a farm town. The great line, my favorite line from your poem, there is nothing you cannot withstand. I come from Dust Bowl survivors. Judy, drink forest floor. Wow. This poem, I really connected with it because every time she said Dr. You, I thought she meant me. I'm a doctor, Dr. You. I was like, oh, it's about me. I love this poem. Until you got to the part, too much heat and too much wind, which is something my wife tells me daily. So the win goes to the Oklahoma-based poem from Amy.
Once again, Melissa, you are the arbiter.
Okay. So I just got allergy tested yesterday. So this really was germane for me. Amy, that line, say there's nothing you cannot withstand, we all love that. And the poem seemed to be sort of about nothing in so many ways, kind of living off nothing in this dry environment. So it points for getting nothing in there as well. And pinch hitting for the other team, that was pretty amazing. I thought that was, we have not seen that before. Judy, silence fell over our house like a lid. That was a beautiful line. And also, you've got really cute shoes on. She's got these platform Mary Janes, which are adorable. But I'm going to have to say Amy for the win.
But you had great shoes. Jeez, I don't know. Well, that's the fifth inning. Fifth inning goes to the red team. And the sixth inning?
Okay, this was, again, as a sports writer all my life and now sports broadcaster, a pinch hitter. Come on. You guys are talking my language here. And I loved how, it was this legal substitution. We did a double switch, all the things we baseball fans love. So Rebecca and Roy were really pulling out into the lead. And Roy, every married man in the audience just felt the flop sweat pouring down our forehead as you read, mistake, mistake, mistake. I'm kidding, of course, I'm kidding. Life is a suede suit. Man, that is something I'm going to think about probably about 3 in the morning as I'm staring at the ceiling, depressed as hell. So that was great. Great job. However, Heather, there was something very innocent about your From the Gable that I relate to baseball. There was one, you said our protagonist had books and cats at home. The only thing missing was a ball game on the radio, right? Huh? Right? And you said that very beautiful line, childhood is slipping through her small fingers, and we take our kids to baseball games, and it's all so fragile. So Heather, you get the win.
This was a tough one. Becky, I understand that doctors in Marin have done wonders with laser hair removal. So the beard, I think we can talk after the. Oh wait, it wasn't Becky. Oh, it was Roy. Roy, you're very handsome. Wire basket of ballet. Wow, that's great stuff. This was the most I suppose academically referenced poem. References to David Hume, one of the great epistemological philosophers, Chopin, and suede suit. That's like the trifecta for a poem. Heather, I love the childhood is slipping through her fingers. The neighbor daughter shaving her legs. I didn't know if that was erotic or creepy, maybe a little bit of both. 5th grade girl sharing cigarettes. 5th grade? Really? Cigarettes? Dear Diary. I never met those girls. And boxcar children. Wow, that was like Dirty Pool throwing in boxcar children. But I have to give it to the suede suit and the spontaneous pinch hit.
The suede suit that his wife warned him about.
So the topic was libraries. We kind of forgot about that. But there were some libraries. I'll leave it at that. Heather, the tiny matzah. I just love the tiny matzah. Kissing under the oleander is this beautiful, this beautiful evocation of ripening adolescence in that poem and naughtiness and pushing boundaries I thought was great, which you could do in a library, I guess. Edward Gorey. Love Edward Gorey. And Roy, I love the passion of your delivery and the humor of the poem, and the mixing humor and seriousness, humor and gravity is a hard thing to do. I thought that was done really well. I haven't convinced myself who is winning this yet. I'm going to flip over this dollar. Heads, it's Roy, and tails, it's Heather. How about that? It's Roy!
Another example of how fate works. And that brings us to the end of the 6th inning with the score tied 3-3. Take me out to the ball game? How about a little 7th inning stretch, everybody? And welcome back to the final 3 innings of the 5th annual Poetry World Series. My name is Will Durst, and I'm a stand-up comic and a little writer and author and columnist and blah blah and hoodie-doo. And I'll be doing some stand-up just down the street at 142 Throckmorton this Tuesday. I'll be telling some jokes because I got some new stuff and I got to tape it and put it up on YouTube because that's how the kids find out about you, because they don't go to clubs. You know, we're so old with the whole interacting thing. You know, it's weird getting old. This is how old I am. Whenever I go to Costco, before committing to a purchase, I am forced to factor in life expectancy. Am I really going to finish that 55-gallon drum of tuna fish? Do I think? This is how old I am. I've had an AARP card for 12 years. They find you day one of your 50th birthday. I'm convinced that's how we tracked down Bin Laden. Because he turned 50 in Abbottabad, and I'm pretty sure AARP found him. And SEAL Team 6 just followed them in. Okay, are we ready? Yes, our judges and our panelists are. And here we go with the 6th inning of the 5th annual World Series. 7th inning. Thank you. 7th inning of the 5th annual. Something like that. It's so let's bring our two contestants up for the 7th inning. And they are from the blue team, Judy. Wow, you used that break judiciously. And from the red team, Rebecca. For the 7th inning, the topic is, my dad likes to read Dostoevsky novels. No? No? All right.
I actually have one.
You actually, yeah. You actually have one entitled that, yeah. Sneaky. The 7th inning topic is sneaky. First up will be Judy. No?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Don't get sneaky on me. Can we play can we dance to Rebecca's walk-up music while they're getting their phone?
Sneaking over the line. Bend the spine of a thesaurus. My shadow map, guide of distances, atlas of cities. If this book were a bridge, I would trust my weight to it. Late bloomer, mountain azalea, dwarf pine. The letters didn't always make words. There were years and years when they just stayed letters. I have come to feel the moss under the water. I have come to put my feet in the creek. Basho and Sora on pilgrimage, write on their hats. No home in heaven or earth. On this path we go two together. Monks on pilgrimage, by two we go. The monk alone, but with the Dharma. Basho alone, but with Sora. Me in the library with 20,000 other fools. And a mother who wants a postcard, a line on a Christmas note, a baby girl to walk, to hit a home run, a two-wheel bicycle, a spelling bee, a pirouette, a finger to trace the letters across the page, the letters to make a song. Some say they fought. Some say they parted in anger. After Sora stayed behind, Basho let the words, by two we go, wash off his hat in the rain. At graduation, my mother, hands in the air, shouts, "It's a miracle, a miracle."
But before I begin the laborious job of tying my poem into the topic, I have a question for one of the judges. How am I supposed to know it's a 49ers hat? I mean, it's a San Francisco Giants. SF. Oh, it does? Oh, it's very small. Look how small it is. Oh, it's red. Okay. Okay, what? Anyway, something. You can take it up in the judging round. Okay, so I'm going to be really sneaky and read a poem that has nothing to do with the topic. And I really have to read this poem. This poem is dedicated to my son, who spent 8 years doing it, and he's going to be graduating from college on Tuesday. And so I'm dedicating this poem to my son, and it's after Stanley Kunitz, and it's called Only. Oh, love, this happened, or it did not. In a room with green walls, my son was born. The cord was torn too soon, so they cut off his head to save his heart. He lived for a long time. For a long time, there was no breath or cry. When finally he spoke the wide world, leaves of corn. He spoke the crickets in clusters beneath the sheaves. He sang the soil in. He sang the wind in the dune and the hush of ebb tide. Some say he died. Some say he died.
Rebecca Fox from the red team. Judy Halepsky from the blue. And that was the 7th inning, ladies and gentlemen. For the 8th inning, we are bringing to the stage from the blue team, Heather Altfeld.
Just a small town boy.
And from the red team, Troy Jallymore. For the 8th inning, your topic will be a dark and stormy night.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I have to bring out the arsenal of the computer.
I just want to point out that these guys are romantically involved.
What? What? Well, define involved.
And they're staying at my house.
Sorry, I'm trying to find it. I don't have a book like all you do. Hey, I know what I'm looking for. Off the music. Come on. This is terrible.
Should I go?
Yeah, can you go?
I can go?
That's so sweet. Thank
I'm going to
you.
go. Okay. This is
Look at him.
what
What a mensch.
partners
What a
do
mensch.
for each other, as you can see. Is that my... Okay. All right? Okay. You may have noticed that I brought one poem up with me because I knew which one I was going to read. Because it is a baseball poem, and baseball is life, and so it contains everything. Any topic that could have been mentioned would be relevant to this poem. This poem was originally called A Dark and Stormy Night because it is about a baseball game that was played on a dark and stormy night. But it's now called Homer.
This is like cheating.
It is, it's like cheating? Okay. Homer. Homer. Come on. All right. Schliemann is outside digging. He's not calling a spade a spade. The stadium where the Greeks once played used to stand on this very spot. Each night, Penelope, operating in mythical time, unspools the light gray orb Schliemann has just unearthed. Come daylight, her hands will re-stitch it. The suitors sigh, waiting. And each night I'd watch as my hero curled himself round home plate, as if he were going to bat for me. And I'd hold my breath, knowing a strong enough shot might be heard round the world. One must imagine Penelope. One must imagine Penelope happy. One must imagine Schliemann excavating the dugouts and outfields of Troy, carbon dating the box score stats and the ticket stubs he pulls from the lurid dirt. He rubs the remains of Achilles' rage on his white shirt. What does not kill you can still hurt. Penelope's suitors are striking out, one after another, their sad swings and misses. They can't even get to first base. She'll cut the stitches once more, then blow them all kisses. Odysseus won't care that the orb is undone. He'll take a swing at it with all his might. The ball takes flight. Odysseus takes flight. It feels to Penelope like he's been gone since the dawn of mankind, but he's already zoomed round third and flies like an arrow toward home. As the unearthly orb trails its guts in the air, the yarn fanning out like Penelope's hair, not knowing yet whether to fall foul or fair.
Could be a long drive home. Fortunately, it's my car. This is a metaphorically dark and stormy night for those of you in the audience who've raised an adolescent. It's called Adolescence. I'll see you in spring, they always say, and then don't. They have gone down the lane and out into the sweet air in search of a thicker magic. They tell you they are one of the 18 species of birds who have invented their own language that you will never learn how to learn. You wait at the window in a smocked dress, painting lilies without crumpling. The gingerbread goes stale and the candied eyes crack. 10 minutes ago, in the city of childhood, they lay like orange kittens on your snowy breast. Now, here you are in the rainy light, cradling an oven-warmed stone. Everywhere there are statuaries of families singing, and you trespass just to hear the old songs. I'll see you on the sea, they say, but they float past on a raft made of sticks with a shipmate named Blackheart and tins enough for months. You wait on the tiny island with a nest of sparrows in your hair, waving every time you see the gulls. The sun rises, the sun falls, the world darkens in the glassy inlets, and you knit pea-sized sweaters in the white-capped waves. Now you endure the long hope of becoming a bird who can spot the pinprick of their body crashing against the rocks. You'll see, I will come back, they say, tripping over the graves in shoes light as pumice in their hurry to get into the forest, down the trail and into the woods and far away from you. You make candy light and thin as glass and hold it up to watch for their light amble. You lay awake under the flickering stars, believing that in the contest between the mountains and the wolves and the child will breakfast with the wolf and not within the wolf. I'm never coming back, they say. And when they return, you are just about pewtered with grief. They are strange to you, full of mud and locked like thieves, hiding between languages. You are the uninvited guest of your own sweet home, clattering about like a china tea set as they burst from the cobbles like terrible Gollum. It is all you can do to rise into the air, invisible to clay and mortals, singing of their singular brightness.
Get a room. Heather and Troy. I saw some pirate action in there. That's a baseball team. Pirates, eh? Are you guys ready for the ninth inning? From the red team, please welcome Miss Amy Glenn. And from the blue team, bring up to the podium with a Mill Valley welcome ×2, Mr. Robert Thomas. Your topic for the ninth inning is...
Oh boy.
Afternoon delight.
Afternoon delight.
Yeah. I got it.
Well, that was...
Do you want a minute?
Well, yeah, I think you're going first.
All right. I've been listening very, very closely to the judge's critique. So by way of glossing this poem, I just want to point out that when you pitch a baseball and someone hits it, it goes up in the air, but then it eventually falls down because of gravity. And then also, my great aunt Frida lived in Oklahoma, and she was once struck by lightning in her own kitchen, but I understand that's not that uncommon. And thirdly, my shoes are red. This is called Gravity is Always Attractive. Just lie down. This is serious, by which I mean non-trivial, by which I mean it won't resolve to nothing. Nothing does, you know. A lessening, diminishing returns, which I mean in the sense of terminal velocity. Like lesson learned, even acceleration has limits, finish lines. But this, law, fundamental, meaning it's physical. It wants you, yes, and it will have you. Firmament to terra firma in a blink. And this is called a feeble force. Get on those knees and ask them, does this feel weak? Or does it seem engraved in stone, enforced, inevitable? Or maybe given, meaning it's foreordained, determined. It's a gift. No looking in the mouth, no short shrift. Hold still. It's an angle, angel face, of repose. Grave situation, make the best of it. It's specific, meaning dimensionless, variable. You can't be dense about this, love. It's inescapable, far too much not to fall for. Yes, like that. I don't mean tricked, but grounded, meaning wised up, heedful. Grounded meaning don't you move a muscle, young man, I'm not through with you. Lover, don't worry. We're all tied down, really.
I think this is cramping my style. I gotta get rid of this. Okay, I don't know if I get extra points for this or if I lose points for this. It's up to the judges. But after I finished the last round, I realized that I actually do have a poem about twirling batons. And it kind of fits with Afternoon Delight. But anyway, it's spoken by the Muse, who is getting kind of sick of her job. It's called The Muse's Complaint. Take this job and shove it. You watched as I rode my bike in the afternoon for a butter stick. You watched from the choir as I returned to my pew from the communion rail, counting the red tiles. When I ran out of gas next to a garlic farm and went down a furrow to the dark garage. When I danced with delight at my brother's wedding, stomping my boots without wasting one drop of champagne. You were there. You loomed, likening me to a diamond can opener or a one-woman bevy of quail, but you were always likening me. I bled, and to you I was a page-turner. I wept, and for you, the Mokihana bloomed red on Mount Yaleale. You don't even know that Johnny Paycheck died last month, whose obituary said he shot a man in an Ohio watering hole, capitalized the C in his name, Paycheck, a few years later, and wrote 3 great songs, one of which is remembered. Take this job and shove it. What about your obit? That you fed lambs with an eyedropper? That you milked the great bear? I've had it up to here with your marching band. I'm taking off my spandex epaulettes, and the next time I toss my flaming baton, I'll be in another state when it comes down. On your honeymoon, I'll be the the glorious trillion-spined black lava slicing through your flip-flops.
Robert and Amy, the 9th inning. That's it. The game is over. We have yet to judge them, though. And I judge Robert for having baton in almost every poem. That's cheating. Let's go back and review, shall we? Brian Murphy, do you remember the 7th inning?
I do. Judy and Becky going at it. It was great. Judy sneaking over the line, even including the phrase hitting a home run. Boy, pandering to the judges. I love it. Also, the spelling bee. I loved spelling bees when I was a kid. Does that make me wrong to love spelling bees when I was a kid? I loved them. Moss under the water makes me feel like growing up here at Old Mill Creek. Come on. So there was a lot of positives going on here. But I have to say, you were up against a large force. Becky's done 2 things today. She's had a pinch hitter, and she's cheated, okay? She said, I'm reading a poem, nothing to do with the topic. Now, I'm a longtime sports writer and sports broadcaster. Baseball is a century plus of cheating. Scuffed balls, corked bats, steroids, you name it. So for the spirit of cheat, they say if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. For the spirit of cheating, like baseball has been doing for 150 years, spitballs, you name it, and for a achingly beautiful poem about her son, Becky gets the win.
I have affectionately dubbed this inning the shamelessness inning. Poems about family members and moms and sons and miracles. Yawn. I take that back. These were great poems. Sang the soil in the Becky's poem, sang Wind and Dune, some say he died. Wow, I think we were all a little bit speechless over here after that poem. Really, sort of this moment when language makes the whole world stop. But we're in a library. Judy comes up strong with the thesaurus, and she links Basho with hats, which makes me think of baseball. A library of 20,000 fools. That means she dissed you guys. So So the win goes to Becky.
It's on? Yeah. Oh, there we go. So Judy's dance moves reminded me a little bit of Molly Ringwald in The Breakfast Club, which, warmed my heart in so many ways. Great poem. Put My Feet in the Creek, all those amazingly visceral images, and the mention of the library I thought was a nice little thing too. Sneaky. And the Becky's poem was just heartbreaking and gorgeous and said so much in so few lines. It's very, very powerful. And I just found it was so meta for her to say, to use the subject as, I'm going to be sneaky, and then use that and sneak in a poem about something else. So that I thought was such a strong tactic that I'm going to give the win to Becky.
Wow, it's unanimous. And the point for the 7th inning, the run goes to the red team. How about the 8th inning, Brian Murphy?
Well, this one's awkward because it's like getting in the middle of a domestic dispute, right? It's like that scene in When Harry Met Sally when they both call their other couple and they're each telling their story and whose side do we take? You know what I mean? Carrie Fisher is Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan calling their friends. So Heather and Troy, lovers, friends, poets. What do you do? So let me preface this by saying you're both winners in my book. All right. Well, Troy, what are you going to do, dude? You just brought the hammer down with all your baseball metaphors. The shot heard around the world for us Giants fans. Thank you very much. I love the phrase, what does not kill you still hurts, because Game 6 of the 2002 World Series still hurts. 1993, winning 103 games and not making the playoffs still hurts. So that ruled. That was great. And the foul or fair made me think, does this poem still relevant in the era of instant replay? At the end, because we could go to the video at this point now. So all those positives. And then Heather came strong with all the adolescents. This is, of course, Dark Stormy Night. Adolescents, the uninvited guest in your own home. I'm never coming back. It reminded me of a team that had a really bad homestand. They had like a 9-game homestand, went like 1-8. That's what adolescence was like. So, plus, I'm not going to lie, Heather and I talked before the event, and we said if you guys swear it off, I said, chivalry is not dead. I'm voting for Heather. Heather gets the win.
Well, I have a little bit of a confession. I don't really remember much of either of the poems because I was still kind of awestruck when Becky announced that Heather and Troy were lovers. Because Troy, that is not what you told me on that beach in Maui. Asshole. I heard something about Greeks and Penelope and I don't know, shipmates and pirates. Who can judge? Troy's poem made me think, because about Penelope, it made me think of Wallace Stevens' unbelievably beautiful poem, The Worldless Meditation, in which he imagines Penelope waiting for Odysseus to arrive. And he did tell me at the beginning that I was the Wallace Stevens of judges, and Wallace Stevens is my favorite poet. But Heather has that line, in search of a thicker magic. Who is not in this room in search of a thicker magic? Raise your hands if you are not. Yeah. Enough said. He's not in search of a thicker magic? Talk to me after this, Hambone. Vote goes to Heather.
So I thought it showed a lot of hubris on Troy's part to feel like if he had a baseball theme that he could curry favor with the judges, no matter what the topic was. I don't know about that. And Heather, so many beautiful bird and sea images, nest of sparrows in your hair, and another portrait of the strangeness and beauty of children who grow away from us. Really, really lovely. But Troy also, I mean, his name is Troy, and he had all that imagery of Achilles and Odysseus and Penelope, and I just could not stop thinking about how perfect that was. So I'm giving it to Troy. Chivalry be damned.
So Brian went with Heather, and Dean went with Heather, Melissa went with Troy. That's another run for the blue team. After 8 innings, we are tied 4-4. And it comes down to the 9th inning, Brian Murphy.
So somebody's going to get a walk-off win, right, Will? Yeah, all right. Get your yes, yes, yes ready, Becky. Who knows? You may be the winner. Or no, no, no. We'll see. Amy versus Robert, Afternoon Delight. 2 very strong poems to finish. We'll start with Robert. Listen, man, who does not like Johnny Paycheck, right? I mean, that is American songwriting at its finest. I was fired up on that. Not to mention your brother's wedding and the champagne, and you're always likening me. I love that. You're just like dripping there. Garlic Farms too. Are you know, between the Carmel and the Garlic Farms? Am I sensing like a Watsonville Aptus background for you, or perhaps. All right, maybe Cannery Row. All very good. However, you were up against a major force, and that was Amy's Reed. How about that? Reminded me of Marilyn Monroe coming out of the cake with JFK, didn't it, huh? Holy cow. I mean, it got really a little dicey. I was wondering about the kids in here, if we should usher them out, you know. There was talk of forced and inevitability and young men, and holy smokes. But velocity, like a fastball, you mentioned, and in the end, you reminded me of how so many of these women fans that I meet talk about Brandon Crawford. The way they talk about him, young man, you're not leaving here, because there's a lot of chicks digging Brandon Crawford. So on that, in the spirit of the Giants, Amy gets the win. There you go.
Yeah, I was. This was a tough one. Wow, 2 great poems and delivered by pros. Let's say that. Amy, when she said, "Get on those knees, wearing those pants," I thought, okay. We're all tied down, really? Yes? Yes, we are. Robert, the Muse's complaint, the Muse, they bitch about me nonstop. One woman bevy of quail, maybe the best line all night. Johnny Paycheck, I love his poem, The Outlaw's Prayer. You know that poem? I grew up listening to that song. I've headed up to here. Be the wow. So even though your pants are much lamer, you get the victory.
All right, Melissa, no pressure. We're tied 4-4.
Can I use the dollar
And it's
again?
1-1, red and blue. The whole match comes down to this.
Can I get a pinch hitter judge? Yeah, I might use my dollar trick again. This is really, really tough. Both amazing works delivered very, very well, powerfully. Very saucy poem by Amy. Very saucy leather pants. Can you stand up and show off your leather pants so people have not seen the leather pants? Yeah, these are, I mean, I don't think we should overlook these leather pants. That's what we're here for. Exactly. And Robert actually used the word delight in his poem. Kudos for that. Diamond can opener. Oh my goodness, that just opened my brain up. Yeah, the use of the word and being a word fiend, that word has saved my ass in Scrabble so many times. Slicing through your flip-flops, my jaw just went, and it would still be open if they weren't filming this, so I didn't embarrass myself. So between Amy and Robert, this is, yeah, should we do the dollar? No. Should we just do the dollar?
Yeah, just flip it.
No? You want me to actually? Okay. I will not, okay. I will,
Split the vote?
yes, I will do that. I'm gonna split the vote, and we're gonna have an over.
Oh no, we have a tie! Oh no, it's a tie, which means we're gonna have a 10th inning. Are you ready for that? This is unprecedented. Thank you, Melissa. What do we do, Rebecca? I have no idea.
You pick the topic and we designate a hitter. So after he picks the topic, you pick a hitter and we'll pick a hitter.
All right. I have 2 topics that I just picked up off the floor. One of these topics, and then each team will nominate their designated hitter. Basset hounds or weird sex? We go for a third one. Or weird sex with basset hounds. No? Jellyfish temporarily placed in a bathtub. No, that doesn't resonate. You got weird sex? Cocktails.
Any of them.
Pick your choice of any of the themes that are and give it up. And meantime, the 2 teams are going to pick their representatives, who their pinch hitter is going to be, and this is kind of like a home run derby if you've ever watched that. What do they call it now in the All-Star game? Oh, it is. It's still the home run derby. Yeah. So we're going to go for the heavy hitters. And we got Murderer's Row over here. And Murderer's Row has picked Amy. Yeah, pick the leather pants. You're cheating. What's subject will you be speaking on, Miss Glenn?
I want the lyrics. I have talent, you know. I'm up for a lot of accolades right now. Yeah. Sorry.
Including ones that involve salivation of this crowd.
Anyone see Adult World? I thought it was great. I was quoting.
Which, what are you?
This is weird sex.
Weird sex?
Yeah.
And from the Bash siblings, who are you guys going to pick? Heather!
Oh, I have so many weird sex poems, I had to choose.
Okay, so you both pick weird sex. This is going to be fun. Okay, I'll flip a coin to see who goes first. Call it Amy.
Heads.
And it is tails.
All right.
Heather goes first. This won't immediately sound like weird sex. It's called Horse Girl. I never understood why she drew the chiseled lines of their loins over and over on the paper covers of math books, while mine was littered with puffy clouds and poems penned for Chachi. What was it about the dream of grooming the immense ass of an animal large enough to lay crap the size of possums that made her endlessly starry-eyed in class, designing Pegasus dot-to-dots on her peachy folder? I did not long to jockey around with my legs spread hard over the great girth of leather, or rake hay in a stable full of sweaty equestrian breath. And what compelled her to attend horse camp each summer, riding around on the back of a beast who gracefully bucked her off the year before, hovering his ginormous equine balls over her for one long moment before piercing her femur with his great hoof and rendering her 6 months in a body cast. Signed by all of her horsey friends, who drew little lassos and unicorns and wrote, "You'll be back in the saddle by spring break." In the meanwhile, she had to scratch the fledgling pubic hairs growing within the plaster with the metal tip of a coat hanger. I'll give her this. Stop taking my time laughing. There is nothing more graceful than the shape of a white horse in a silent meadow until he begins to grunt and whinny, edging the ground with preternatural heat and opening his enormous eye in my direction. I admit also that right now, nothing is more appealing than the idea of cantering off into the sunset with something pressed against my fiddle beside a drunken boy from the saloon. How can I really stand in judgment against her high, horsey laugh, the knowledge that she is not alone in bed tonight, somewhere in a sprawling ranch house, the tack hung in the 3-car garage. That filly is there straddling the slim saddle of her husband's torso with practice and with care, parting his mane and currying the fine grain of his skin until they each fall into a standing, fitful sleep.
Ah, the hubris. I can't out-weird that. I do have bird sex. This poem is called Gull, Swallow, Dove, and it's I was watching, kind of garbage birds in Rome one afternoon, and there were, gulls or in the Campo de Fiori and these feral pigeons that are everywhere, and these little, they're called house martins, but they kind of sweep the Tiber looking for bugs. And so I'm going to, this is kind of, I just started thinking about their love lives, and this is what came out. This is called Gull, Swallow, Dove. 1, Laris Michaelis. Oh, for the barely bearable lightning jolt of it, maybe. Negative ions, images flipped in the windy water, blurring each ash-tipped white wing to a panoply. Days like this, we orbit the fountains, seeking, as we always must, the high-level view. Did you know I have a photographic memory of the way you move, your each seraphic feather, you angel, slip-streamed, argent, cry of orison, the ardent sun lowering all the while to the horizon, lithe you, white streak, flight risk, light-struck, white light, tight spot, in spite of which I'm still your girl. Call me what you will for it. I'll always fall for you, sweet guile, that gullet full of crass laughter, and yes, yes, the inherent restlessness that makes us for now equals in our gullibility, mistaking flight of fancy for a free pass to something we cannot possess. It's a fool's errand, but that's the disaster we flirt with. It's worth it, catch as catch can, connect at any cost. We're not above abject refusal to behave, and time flies faster than it used to. Have you noticed? Let's annul this marriage to the ordinary, soar, sculling the air towards some place where there's more. I'll always be that fool for you. Your gull. 2, Delicon urbicum. Well, you're a fast one, aren't you, baby? And why not? Nothing stands still. And I'll believe whatever you tell me as often as ever you take it back, whatever self-serving moves you make, recurvatures, elisions. You conceive such high-flown turns of phrase. I understand all of it, always of two minds, ever split between conscience and appetite, between nest and flight, the nomad's dilemma, and I'm quite able to follow you, darling, despite this loop, that lie, and you know what I mean when I tell you that I'll always swallow it. 3. All right, Columba Olivia. Sure, it's a little dirty, but that's life in the city, lover. There's no point in saying get out of the gutter. This is not a bad habit. There's something in our basic nature that keeps us here, stalking the cobbled squares in search of such as can be found. If much depends on what's discarded, even more is a matter of inventiveness, a gift, for seeing as a gift whatever happens to us, for finding needful anything that strays across our paths. A generalist's attraction to attraction. We survive by cobbling things together. We're about acceptance, which is not the same as peace. It's letting things be piecemeal, rather, thriving on it, omnivorous, adaptive to the nth. It's taking what the world gives with reflexive good grace, humbly reflective on its each small, simple gratification, the leftover cast off accretive tesserae, the cracks between the stones where anything can lodge. I'm almost done. We dodge contempt. We are the square's familiars. We sample what's on offer, and we never complain it's not enough. And maybe later you'll make believe we're strangers. Flash the green light off your gorgeous, dazzle me. Like minds. And what we most like is the way there's so much novelty in common ground.
Thank you.
And that was the 10th inning. How about a hand for Heather from the blue team? And Amy from the red. Okay, you may have noticed that two of our judges had prior appointments and they have left us, meaning that we can leave it all to Melissa, or you, the audience, can judge this one. So, may I have the two contestants up here for the 10th inning, Heather and Amy. How many people like Heather's giant equine balls? How many liked the gullet full of crass laughter from Amy? Gotta give it to Heather. Gotta give it to Heather. The blue team wins!
Just a small town girl.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been the 5th annual World Series of Poetry. We hope to see you again next year.